All right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the evening session of the City Council meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order and ask the Deputy City Clerk to call the roll.
All council members are present.
Would you all stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance and then remain standing for a brief moment of silence? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Staff, do you have any agenda changes?
No, sir.
Council? At this time, any person may address a matter within the jurisdiction of the City Council, Housing Authority successor agency to the El Cajon Redevelopment Agency that is not on the agenda. Comments relating to items on today's agenda are to be taken at the time that the item is heard. State law prohibits discussion or action on items not on the agenda. However, council, authority, and agency members may briefly respond to statements or questions, and an item may be placed on a future agenda. Jen, did we receive any comments?
No speaker cards were received, sir.
All right, then right on to commission interviews. Item 100 is for interviews for the Personnel and Planning Commission. When your name is called, please come to the podium, and you will have 3 minutes to share your qualifications for the position. The council may ask follow-up questions if necessary. Before we continue, Jen, do we have any speaker cards for this item?
No speaker cards were received, sir.
You know, I did not bring my list. Do we have them? Oh, I think we have them here. Yeah, they're here. I'm sorry. Okay. First, we'll consider applications for the Personnel Commission. There are 2 vacancies. One required nomination by employees in the classified service, and the second one must have a nomination from the current personnel commissioners. Both terms expire on January 2028. Let's have our first person come up, Mr. Richard Agundes, and he's the incumbent nominated by the El Cajon Police Officers Association. Sir, how are you?
Honestly, it's past my bedtime.
Ha!
I'm not sure why I'm here. I told my friend, I go, you know what? They don't know me by now. I got an interview. She goes, it's going to be a party. There's going to be a big celebration of some sort.
No, it's just a one big, long test.
Story of my life. Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. I am honored to be nominated by the El Cajon POA again. I've served as a commissioner for approximately 10 years, and I think I've done a fairly good job with integrity and honesty. I would like the opportunity again if the City Council seems fit to allow me to do so. I hope my past history speaks for itself, and I'd like to continue to serve the City of El Cajon as a commissioner. And that's all I got.
Can you tell us just a little bit about your history as a police officer?
A brief history? Because it's kind of extensive. Hired in 1981.
The highlights.
Hired in 1981. Went to the academy. Served in patrol first 5 years. After that, I went to traffic in a car. Worked traffic collisions. After that, I went to motors. Worked a motorcycle. Some of you probably know me because some people still come up and recognize me. Scary times at times because, aren't you that guy? Yeah, that was me. Yeah. But it's all good. From there, I went to DARE, where I taught the kids, and I sure wish we had that program back. I think it was vital, and it was the highlight of my career, serving the children and understanding how they really work and the needs that these kids have these days. That was huge. After that, I was the first school resource officer for the City of El Cajon, initially between the 2 schools of Granite Hills and El Cajon Valley High School. I was then promoted to agent, which is a two-striper, and was also a acting sergeant at that time, going back to patrol, going back to traffic, and then again as an acting sergeant. Also, from the years of 92 to 99, I served as an operator for our SWAT team. That's about it.
Wow, that's a lot. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Let me see if there's some questions for you.
Just a comment, if I may. Thank you very much. I appreciate your service to the city. You're still so actively involved in the community. You're on the Latino Police Officers Association, is that right?
Yes, sir. I'm the vice president of the San Diego County chapter of the National Latino Police Officers Association.
Thank
yes,
you.
sir.
And I appreciate your work on the repeal Prop 47. Appreciate that and everything. And we really should be thanking you for serving on the planning committee or the personnel commission. The line isn't out the door for people lining up to to serve on this. So I appreciate the work you've done and being able to serve.
I do it for the money, sir. It's an honor, sir. Thank you. I love this. I love this city. I love what you folks have done for the city. It's huge. It's huge. And I hear from the troops, and I tell them, I go, you guys are blessed. You men and women are blessed to have the city council, the mayor, the city manager, everybody on top. You guys are blessed to have them, because I remember years where we didn't have the support of the city, and they really are blessed. Whether it's equipment, training, money, hiring, trying to fill in the backlog of people that we're missing. Again, like the City Personnel Commission, being a police officer isn't a real popular thing right now. So it's very hard to find some really good candidates. I thank you for the kind words, sir.
Any more questions? Thank you, Rich.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate that. Also, Jason Martinez is the incumbent, and he received the nomination from a fellow personnel commissioner. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it tonight, but he would very much like to be reappointed. So we'll keep that into consideration. Are there any cards?
No speaker cards, sir.
Okay, so the discussion's back with council and staff, and I recommend we give each person the appointment.
Great. I'll make a
Yeah, let's vote on that.
Motion carries by unanimous vote.
Would you like to swear everybody in, or Mr. Goodis now or later?
They won't need to be resworn in because they are incumbents.
Oh, okay. Well, it gets easier all the time.
Thank you very much.
Gundis, thank you so much for what you've done for this city. You've changed a lot of kids' lives.
Okay, now we're going to move on to the Planning Commission applicants. There's one vacancy for a term to expire in January of 2028. Our first applicant is Curtis Crook. Mr. Crook, how are you, sir?
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. Appreciate the opportunity to speak to the Council this evening and to the Mayor. I want to give you a little brief history, a little background. I know you have my resume, but a little bit of information about me. I have 35 plus years in construction management. That included both commercial and residential. I was also responsible for facilities management at the Verona Band of Mission Indians. At that time frame, I was also required to initiate the water treatment and water operations for the Verona Tribal Water Authority. I worked hand in hand with the EPA. Because of the work that I performed there, I received a letter of commendation from the Region 9 supervisor from the EPA. During that same time frame, I was also responsible for the construction as the director of construction for the Verona Valley Ranch Hotel and Casino, a $260 million project. During that construction process, the tribal government approached me. I went to work for the tribal government. I established their planning and development department, and I also established their water department, as I said before, working with the EPA. Beyond that, there was a fire, the Cedar Fire. I'm sure you're all aware of it. In 2003, I was requested by the tribe to repair, recover, and put back 26 homes that were destroyed during that fire. I was able to reconstruct and have the homes completed, inspected, and occupied within 90 days. So I felt that was a pretty good accomplishment considering, and I had a lot of help from the tribal council, so it really helped the situation. My other projects I worked with was the FEMA project at Northridge in 1994. I worked with the City of Los Angeles and FEMA during the recovery. I had 9 recovery crews working up there managing that project. I was a senior superintendent for the Robert F. Presley Courthouse and Detention Center in Riverside. I was the senior project manager for the Wellington Retirement Facility in Laguna Niguel. I was also the project manager for the Factory Merchants Outlet in Barstow. One of the other projects that I had, one of the other businesses involved in was the 32nd Street Naval Station JOC contract. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but that is various projects on the Navy base having to deal with contractors, negotiating with the Navy, and working directly with various agencies. My latest project that I completed was the renovation of the old Sears Service Center on North Johnson. Converted that to an RV service center, which is now occupied by Camping World. And at that time, I had the pleasure of working with the engineer, Blake Berringer, customer service, Elizabeth Pitsley, Jose Ornelas, Aaron Jones, Adam Pope, and Gary Taylor all worked with the city. Excellent working relationships with those folks. And, of course, Frankie Rodriguez with Heartland Fire. I believe my skill set, my experience, and my background would provide an excellent and enormous asset to the city of El Cajon. I would really appreciate for the consideration for this position. My wife and I have been here going on 18 years this November. We enjoy the community. I left San Diego, and probably the best move I ever made in my entire life. Don't laugh. We've really, really enjoyed it here. The police department is excellent. Very good. Very, very good. I can't say enough about how well we've been treated with the city of El Cajon. And with that, I thank you.
Thank you very much. Let me see if there's any questions for you. Hi, Michelle.
Hello, sir. Thank you for applying. What made you want to go for the Planning Commission?
Well, I'm retired, and with all of my experience and all of my background, I really feel that I want to get back to the community. I think there's a fine balance between business and the community, and both need each other. The businesses need the people need the business.
Right.
And so I think working with the Planning Commission, with my experience, I think I can provide some insight and some things that can be beneficial to both sides.
And have you watched the Planning Commission meetings?
I did. I actually watched the last agenda where I think you authorized 2024-002 CUP for station number 7, the renovation project for that. And I believe you had an issue with a restaurant and banquet hall where there was some consideration about maybe not fulfilling the requirements of the CUP.
Okay.
Yes.
And do you see that maybe your experience might be too much for the Planning Commission, in the sense of, because you've worked with so much, and we come in, sometimes when we come in with a lot of experience, we get into the weeds a little bit more than what is necessary, because we have staff that does that.
Correct.
What is necessary for the Planning Commission, because they need to know what is good for the community, how are they, being able to see it from both sides.
Correct.
And sometimes you have to be a mediator in a way. Do you think that might be a stumbling block for you, or do you think or a hindrance, or do you think that might be beneficial?
No, I worked with the Verona Band of Mission Indians for 21 years, and I'll try to put this politely. You have to be extremely flexible on an Indian reservation. You have to understand where they're coming from, their culture, their background, and you can have all the rules and regulations and codes and so on and so forth. But you also have to be able to balance that with their particular situation and how they live. So no, I think I'm just bringing the experience, I think, which could help if there's ever a question with regards to the technical side of it. But yes, you need to be flexible, you need to be open, and you need to understand both sides of the story.
All right, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you for applying. Let me give you a scenario and just kind of see what you would think about that.
Okay.
Let's say you're a planning commissioner and there is a motel that has called 911 too many times, and their conditional use permit is before you to decide, is this a nuisance property? Should they have a second chance? What kind of questions would go through your head in terms of what do you want to know to be able to make a decision?
Well, I think you would need to know the basis of all the 911 calls. What triggered those phone calls? What was the basis for the I guess the complaints, if you will, and then determine if the hotel is operating in its normal capacity in accordance with the CUP. If it's operating within the guidelines of the CUP, and that those enormous calls are created by an outside source, let's say another community sending in transients with vouchers to occupy that hotel, then that may not be the hotel's problem. It might be something that is outside their, I guess, purview or outside their ability to control. So you have to kind of weigh all of those conditions, and then with the support of the other members, come to a determination on how you want to handle that.
And where's the line between giving a second chance versus you've had enough chances? What kind of questions would you ask yourself there?
What previous history does the hotel have with regards to any violations with their CUP? Do they have? Is this their first request for the second chance, if you will? Have they been? Has this constantly been a problem? And if it has, then I think that warrants a little bit further discussion. Wouldn't want to take away a man's business or revenue based on some circumstances maybe out of his control. But on the other hand, you're also responsible for that property, for that business, and you need to kind of take that into consideration when you make that decision.
Okay, good thoughts. Thank you.
Phil?
Thank you for replying. I appreciate you wanting to get involved in the city and wanting to give back. My question is geared towards following the rules and private property rights. So a lot of the times planning commissioners will be faced with the situation where they want to improve their property, or they maybe have already done improvements to their property, and but it's against the rules. So how do you balance following municipal code versus private property rights? How would you approach that situation?
I think you'd have to determine the impact to the what is the severity of the change? To what degree did they violate the law, violate the code requirements, if you will? And I think at that point, then you can determine, is there remedy with regards to some type of offset that this individual may have to compensate the city for? Or will you be able to work something out with the property owner, either back to the original condition of the property prior to the changes, or can you work something with him in order to be able to resolve the matter? I don't think you should be in a position where you take away the opportunity for a property owner to improve his property, but you also have to be sensitive to the fact that if that individual is allowed to do a certain correction or change to his property, does that then set a precedence down the road? And are you allowing kind of the gray area to enter into the decision-making process? I think you got to really weigh out the details of that particular issue.
Good thoughts. Thank you. My last question is with regard to development. So, and I actually stole this question from Councilmember Goebel. How much is too much development? So, everyone says development is good and growth is good, but talk to me a little bit about your thoughts on development and what that looks like.
Well, I think my original statement with regards to a balance between the community and the business community, the people who live here and the people who operate business here, both need each other, but there's a fine balance that has to occur when there's just too much, I'll call it business, if you will, where it impedes the harmony of the community itself. You can't, everybody has to make a living. That's a given. But on the other hand, you want to live in a community where you feel like it's home and not like you're living in an industrial park. I mean, I think those things have to kind of weigh out. You have to look at, first of all, have you saturated the area with too much business? Are there too many coffee shops? Are there too many, you've got to look at the overall impact to the community and what benefit does that bring to the community. If it's a benefit to the community and if it helps the people that live there, then I think that weighs on the positive side. But if it's something that is just one more storefront, one more brick and mortar, and it just adds to the congestion, the issues, the problems, the infrastructure impact, and so on and so forth, I think then that falls to the negative side.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Well, sir, thank you. Thank you for coming.
Appreciate your time. Thank you.
All right. Next is Rebecca Pollock-Root. She is our incumbent.
Good evening, Council. Mayor Wells, how are you today?
Fine, thanks. Nice
Fabulous.
to see you.
Likewise. I don't have a fabulous presentation. I'm kind of off the cuff since I'm a realtor. That's all I do all day is speak all day long. But I did want to thank you so far. I've enjoyed my last 4 years on the Planning Commission. I came in during COVID, so it was a little bit different dynamic being in the Zoom world, and it wasn't very pleasant. It was nice to be back in chambers with everybody and with the staff. The staff has done an amazing job over the last 4 years giving us all the information, so we have plenty to go over when we have our meetings. So although I'm not the biggest question earner, I do read the notes, and the staff does an exemplary job of explaining everything about the projects. I really did enjoy speaking with the public and having the public come in, because it is a community. We're the Planning Commission, we're here for the community. And it's nice to see the public come in and their concerns when there are projects that come up. I have enjoyed seeing the projects come to fruition around the city, and also read about the past projects that have come. I don't have quite the background as this lovely gentleman. I am a licensed realtor. I've been a realtor for almost 20 years. I do both residential and commercial real estate. Have been very involved government-wise throughout my time in real estate, because my degree is in communications and general business. So I've enjoyed my time. I would love to continue with the Planning Commission. I've learned so much about RENA numbers, more than I'd ever like to know about. I've enjoyed to see new housing in the city of El Cajon. I've enjoyed to see what you council have done here in the city, because it is a very safe city in comparison to many other cities that I work out throughout my day in real estate. So I've been here for over half my life now. I've raised my children here. I've put them through school here. My daughter is now in Scotland, so El Cajon creates great kids, and they go on in life. And hopefully she will stay out of the house, can afford a house somewhere sometime, and not come back home, because my son, I can't get out. But that's okay. But the city is a fine city, and I'd love to continue to see this city grow. And I've enjoyed my time, and I'm not going to go excess, but if you have any questions for me, I'm a plethora of information.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Let's see if there's some questions. Steve, go ahead.
Hi, Rebecca.
Hello.
Let me give you a scenario in the
Perfect.
same way. I had a homeowner recently contact me about a fence that they wanted to do in their front yard. Mm-hmm. And there are some regulations in the municipal code about the first 42 inches in the front line of the house, et cetera, can be solid, but above 42 up to 72 can be open if 90%, blah, 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 blah. Currently, the municipal code seems to say the only acceptable material above 42 inches is wrought iron. And the homeowner said, well, isn't there are other products out there? Couldn't we do this instead? How would you approach that situation?
Well, there are other things you could potentially use, but they're not approved yet. So I'm sure you want to see through that area, why it has to be wrought iron, because it can't be where you can't see through that fence because it has to be 42 inches. I get this a lot. They use net for a good 10 feet. And I'm like, well, I don't know if net's approved. But I would definitely see if we, like he said, work out something with that homeowner, or see if we can get approval on something else. They can't just go ahead and do something that's not approved. But I'm sure if they approach staff, went to the city and tried to make some changes and have something approved, they can do that. But you can't just go off and do what you want, unfortunately. But I'm sure come to some decision with staff or with them, because I know staff has worked with numerous people on different projects where it was a little bit out of the norm. So it's just kind of working together to a proper goal. So everyone has to be happy in some essence. You can't always make everybody happy, but come to a common goal.
Okay, thank you.
Michelle?
Hi, Rebecca.
Hi.
Thank you for applying. What has been your toughest solution or your toughest issue that has come across your desk?
Regarding the Planning Commission here?
Right.
I think,
Without naming names or
yeah,
location
no,
or
nothing,
anything,
nothing specific. There's been a lot of things that have been a little bit, you had the news here a couple of times, filming things here in the city of El Cajon regarding, hotel issues and things of such. But I think one of the weird dynamics that was a little bit difficult is when they have the fireworks and they have the horses, and that's always a bit of an issue. And you really don't think of little things like that being an issue, but people love their pets, and kids love to celebrate, and churches love to celebrate. So trying to keep everything fair in a world where sometimes people don't think that's actually a problem. I mean, you can look when you have the hotels that do things and certain things as such, you can see the stats, you can see the calls, you can see all that data, and it's very black and white if they're in violation or not in violation with a CUP order. But when it comes to a horse or a dog or a firework, that's just a little bit, that was something that wasn't a normal world that I'm used to. But it's a thing that you don't think about, and you have to be respectful to others to kind of work that environment so everybody can be happy and have their celebration and have safe pets as well.
Okay. And what has been the most rewarding part of your time on the commission?
There's been many things that I've been like, oh, that was actually, it's nice to see a new housing project going up. It's nice to see, a new building go up. Oddly enough, I was very happy when they approved that firehouse to be redone, because I've lived here and I live in that neighborhood and I've seen that firehouse for many years, and I felt, not that I felt bad for the firemen, but I've seen so many firehouses since I work around the county get an upgrade, and that one's always been a little bit. So it was nice to see people that fight for us every day and are there to support us and save lives, and that they get rewarded as well to have a more substantial building that's a little more updated than what it is right now. But there's been many rewarding things over the years.
Okay, and one final question. I know that these are probably not the questions you anticipated, but you've spent 4 years on the commission already. What made you want to do this again? Because I know that it can be frustrating. I've watched the meetings, and I know that it can be challenging, especially when dealing with two neighbors or new businesses, and maybe not understanding municipal codes and the like. So what makes you want to do this even more?
I unfortunately was a 10-year college student, because I always liked to learn, and I couldn't make up my mind as to what I wanted to do. And my dad still doesn't understand. I have a family of engineers. I am the engineer who never graduated engineering. I graduated other things because I always loved to learn. And I always loved to give back my whole life. I was a Girl Scout. I was a cadet. I was Kiwanis. I was, my kids hate me sometimes because I get involved too much. But I'm always a big advocate of giving back and spending time helping people. That's just who I've always been. And I've always been passionate about, I love real estate, and that's why I decided to come on the Planning Commission, because it was somewhat real estate related. And it was interesting to learn the dynamic of it was more than just real estate. It was, helping others, and that's what I do on a daily basis. It's not $1 million listing. I get some of the craziest clients on a daily basis, but that's what I thrive in. I thrive in when I can have that, those questions, those answers, and trying to solve problems, and that's what I love about the Planning Commission. It's just, trying to better the community, because El Cajon is an amazing community in comparison to others that I'm in on a daily basis, and I can appreciate what you've done here in the city of El Cajon, and I would just like to continue to give back to what the city has created thus far.
Great, thank you.
Well, I'm an equal opportunity person, so I'll ask you the same questions.
Perfect.
So how do you balance the private property rights question with following the rules? How would you approach a situation? Generally, how would you approach that topic of balancing those two?
Well, it's something that I have to balance every day in real estate, because I'm a big advocate for private property rights, but there's also zoning rules. There's certain rules that people have to abide by, and I know there's been a couple issues that have come across that people just want to. I just wanted to combine this together and build it, and you can't do it that way. Then if you're going to improve this, you have to improve everything that goes along with it. And it's unfortunate, but it's all about do your due diligence. If you're going to buy a property and you want to do something with it, you're going to have to do the research. And I, as a realtor, always say, it's a great idea, but always contact the city. They will tell you what you can and cannot do with that. And I'm not trying to destroy anybody's dreams, but at the end of the day, the city has a plan, and you kind of have to abide by that plan. So you're allowed to do what you want with your property within reasons for what the plan has given. And I know there's been certain things over the years, even in my business, where, with the whole ADU thing, the dynamic has changed. So many things have changed, and you kind of have to go with the punches, but you have to reach out and find that research. And even though I don't like saying, I'm all about you can do what you want with your property, but there also are some guidelines that you have to follow. Good.
And what about... what was my other question? Oh, development.
Mm-hmm.
Development can grow a city and revitalize it, but how much is too much development? How would you approach that situation?
It's difficult to cross that boundaries, because a lot of times some people are very set in their ways in their community and how they have things, that a lot of times people are upset that now there's this big building in their backyard, or now it was all open space and now they're destroying it with all this. And you kind of have to, if you're concerned about something, you need to get involved. If you don't want to see that change, then you're going to have to get involved, and maybe in getting involved you can find out that change is actually for the better. And I know with Parkway Plaza, it's important to see what's going on there, and I would love to have some sort of change there, with maybe housing or whatever they can do to utilize the space, because there's a lot of great space here in the city of El Cajon that just needs to be utilized a little better. And I think if the public got more involved to know why things have to go the way they are, you want more business, you want more this, you want more hospitals, well, it all has a purpose. And if you get involved and understand why, maybe they'll be a little more appreciative as to why it's the way it is.
Thank you. Good thoughts. And thank you. I see that I know that you've participated in the Chamber of Commerce, and you've been super involved in the city, so thank you for all that.
Well, thank you all for all that you've done, and whatever decision you make, it'll be the best one for the city, so I thank you for your time.
Anybody else before we go? All right, thank you.
Thank
Rebecca.
you.
All right, back to council. We've got two excellent applicants, and I'd like to say, no matter what the city council decides tonight, you're both excellent applicants, and I appreciate you both taking the time to apply. So, unfortunately, this is like the worst time of the year always. We have to make a decision between always such great people. And so I'll leave it up to you for discussion or a motion.
I'll go first. Mr. Crook, am I pronouncing that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you for applying. I think you must have started working at age 5, because there's a lot of experiences that I was trying to add up all the years, and I'm thinking that's my
parents' idea.
That's like 90 years worth of experience. So thank you for applying. Absolutely qualified to do this job. In my opinion, things are going well in the city. We don't have drama on the commission that we used to have. The commission seems to be following the will of the council. So for that reason, I think Rebecca has earned another term. And I thank you for applying. if something's not broken, I don't think I need to fix it. And she's done a great job the past 4 years, and I think she's earned another 4 years. But thank you for your applying.
Yeah. Mr. Crook, I appreciate you applying. Rebecca, thank you as well. Mr. Crook, I noticed you worked on the B-2 stealth bomber. Man, I would love to hear stories about that, as long as they're not classified. Yeah, as long as they're not classified. But that is very impressive. I think you'd be fantastic on the commission. Usually, I think most commissioners apply a couple times before we bring them on. But I would agree with Steve Goebel's recommendation with Rebecca. I've seen her on the commission. She's done a fantastic job. And 4 years is kind of goes by in a blink of an eye, and I like giving commissioners a little bit more tenure before rotating them out. So I appreciate you applying, and I hope that you apply again in the future. I think you could be a great asset to the city in some way, shape, or form. If it's not the commission for the next opening, maybe another board or something of that nature. I think the city would benefit greatly, and I hope that you don't retire, in a sense, from contributing to El Cajon, because we need good men like you who are disciplined and knowledgeable and wise to continue to invest like Rich has for years. So any way that you can help our city, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Anybody else? Somebody like to make? Oh, go ahead.
Well, I echo the feelings of my fellow council members. Mr. Crook, you gave one of the best presentations I've ever seen in my 22 years up here. So I want to encourage you to apply for other commissions as you see them come up. I think it took me 3 tries to get on the Planning Commission 25 years ago. But there's always people that are resigning or moving out of town and have to get off of commissions for one reason or another. And you are so capable. I don't want to lose you as far as going into the future to be on other commissions. You know, one thing leads to another. So Paul has done an excellent job, and I'd like to see her do another 4 years, but please don't go anywhere.
Okay, Michelle, did you want to say anything? Okay, does somebody? It sounds like you've pretty much made up your mind. Somebody like to make a motion?
I'll move that we extend Rebecca another 4-year term.
Second.
Okay, please vote.
Motion carries by unanimous vote.
Well, thank you all for being involved. Okay, this brings us to adjournment. The adjourned regular joint meeting of the El Cajon City Council, El Cajon Housing Authority, successor agency to the El Cajon Redevelopment Agency, held this 27th day of February 2024, is adjourned until Tuesday, March 12th, 2024 at 3 o'clock p.m. Thank you very much.